Did you know you could sponsor Nerd and Tie? This episode is sponsored by listeners just like you. All you have to do is go to gofundme.com/nerdandtie and give to our legal campaign. Or, if you want us to read your name aloud, you can go to nerdandtie.com, click on the sponsor information on the right side or on the top menu. Either one will get you where you need to go. And for $20, we'd say something nice about you here and say your name and everything. It would make you special in ways that your parents aren't prepared to appreciate. On this episode of Nerd and Tie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has come out, and I'm going to talk about it. Stan Lee is confirmed to be playing the same character in all of his MCU appearances. Young Justice and Titans are going to air on a new DC-branded streaming service. And in convention news, the Midwest Media Expo got canceled just days before the event. Police want information on a 35-year-old guy who's allegedly been soliciting sex from teens at cons. And OzCon had to cancel in the middle because, half the town was underwater. So that happened. All this and your mailbag on this episode of Nerd and Tie.
My God.
Oh, man. So, welcome to Nerd and Tie. It's so good to see all you guys. After 2 weeks ago, last fortnight we were in the same room, but now we are in our separate cities, being far away. I am one of your hosts, Trae Dorn, bringing to you this podcast with a dress code, and oh my God, I'm not wearing my tie. But
you're naked.
With me, as always, is the spectacular Nick IZUMI.
My headphones match my coat.
And
I'm excited about this.
And the gormless PROCK.
Up.
I'm fixing this tie issue.
Oh.
Rebels for life.
I've been pretty good about that, like, this year, wearing the tie during the show.
That's what they all say.
On the other hand, my co-host can't be bothered,
Nope.
This is my Nerd and Tie Expo tie from the Manzini neckwear collection.
You're a Manzini.
I actually have more of these still.
I have several with stuff on them. I should really do something with those.
So I got these. These are for the video viewers see that I'm holding up like a package of ties. These are, when we did the Nerd and Tie Expo last year, our staff all wore matching ties. That's all. So I didn't just like buy a box of ties for like no.
You're just
reason.
this random tie hoarder.
Yeah, I'm not
That's what it really
I'm not
is.
hoarding ties from the illustrious Manzini neckwear collection.
Tie Hoarder is that new show that is going to be on primetime on the History Channel, I hear.
Oh yeah.
But I
Because
do
that's
know where
history
to,
now.
Yeah.
But if you are starting a restaurant and need to know where to buy waiter uniforms and matching ties and pocket squares for waiters, I do know where to go.
Yeah.
If you need red
I'll hook you
ties,
up.
hit Trae up.
Yeah.
They're all this color red, like in our
Meet
logo.
him in the alley.
Oh man, it's
After school, alleyway,
if you're
Alliance.
putting together your Shamara cosplay, and you need an official Nerd and tie, because Shamara wears the red one, I can help you.
After school, alleyway, Alliance.
If you're building a Cravitron Z cosplay, just buy a green tie, man. We'll say that's the official tie if you actually build a Cravitron Z cosplay, because
We'll go along with it. I'm not going to stop you.
it's a dumb.
Right.
And just remember that you should have on you, even though it's not seen, a whistle, because he is a gym teacher, canonically. Speaking of nonsense and not having a segue, we should move into our first story.
Go for it.
And that is for, of course, people who have checked, either going off the website or have checked the audio feed, or not have checked the video feed. They saw our title card, which I'll toss up here yet again, and that is obviously that
This is fantastic.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 came out this weekend, and I got to be Star-Lord in this picture because I'm the one who makes the pictures. And it's
My resemblance to Karen Gillan is pretty intense, so I understand.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I figure it's Genmora, Nebula, Izumi, and Stardorn. It's I spent way too much time coming up with those, and was way too proud of coming up with those.
Oh dear God.
You know, it's Stardorn was the hard one, which doesn't make sense. As like it's the same number of letters and the middle two are shared, so that should have been the easy one. Anyways,
wow.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 came out, and it is it's amazing.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I have not had a chance to see it yet.
Yeah, in a bizarre set of
Same here.
circumstances, Gan and Nick have not been able to see the movie yet, so you're just going to get my reaction to the film. Most of the film is... So I will say that people who like the first Guardians of the Galaxy should like this movie a lot. And if you didn't like the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, shut up and get off of our podcast.
Rude.
It's a little intense.
No, I'm sorry. The first Guardians of the Galaxy and Pacific Rim are our standards of excellence. So, for different reasons.
This is true.
Nothing about Pacific
It's
Rim's
true.
acting is really part of the good parts. Well, I mean, okay, everyone but Charlie Hunnam is good. And he's not bad. He's just there to be the protagonist.
Tell that to anyone who actually knows what an Australian accent sounds like, because...
Oh, I didn't say the accents were good. I said the acting was good. See,
okay.
Anyways, back to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, though. So, I'll say I didn't think it was plotted quite as well as the first movie, but that's always the issue whenever you're... That's a lot of sequels have this problem when they're moving into what's no longer an origin story. Because it's easy to plot out an origin story. It is. And that's why so many first movies are better than the follow-ups, because then, okay, we've created this world, what are we going to do with it? That's why, you know, the first Matrix is good, and the other two happened. It's why, but in this case, I will say that while it's not plotted as tightly or quite as good as the first one, it is, I think in many ways, much more emotionally resonant than the first one. And
you're not the first person I've heard say that.
Like, I cried a lot in the last 10 minutes of that movie. I did a lot of crying, and
Chris Pratt said he did when they did the script reading, so I imagine you're in good company.
Yeah, it's but there's a lot of things to, you know, we spend way more time with the Ravagers in this movie than I thought we were gonna do. And their politics. And yeah, we got to see Sylvester Stallone as Starhawk.
I don't know why that makes me happy.
No, it's phenomenal. The casting of this movie is just phenomenal all around. Like, it's just everyone is perfectly cast. I have zero complaints about any of that. I feel like sometimes the music wasn't quite as well used as it was in the first movie, where it was pretty much its own character, but it was good. It was solid, and as a person who used to hate Fleetwood Mac, I now very much like the song "The Chain" by Fleetwood Mac.
I look forward to finding out the context of that.
Well, the song's used a couple of times in the movie, so it's...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
That and the song "Brandy" are used on a couple of occasions to very solid effect. It's normally it's like when I break down this stuff, it's yeah. Sorry. There's developing news in my inbox that is not ready for prime time tonight, but it interrupted me mid-sentence because people need to not delete things that I'm relying on for a story. Anyways, it's...
Oh, dear.
No, it's just irritating. But anyways, the movie, it's like part of the problem is that like I don't have a lot to criticize here. It's, you know, like James Gunn does, like, he introduces concepts that you wouldn't necessarily expect as, you know, major, like the use of Ego the Living Planet as a character, like, is such a bizarre concept in the comics, but it makes it feel just like a normal, like, it makes sense within the context. I mean, obviously there's some modifications made to origins of certain things that I don't want to spoil, but like, it works really well. It all works really well, and I don't think I've got enough distance to really pick it apart in a negative way. And I definitely know there's a lot of stuff I probably couldn't criticize without spoiling anything massively. So that's like, but we spend a lot more time with this movie learning about the Yondu. Like, we get a lot more, like, understanding who Yondu is in this movie. We understand pretty much, like, actually one of the great things this movie does is answers a lot of the questions from the first movie that kind of, like, you didn't even know you were asking, like, why Yondu did certain things with Peter, or why, like, you know, I mean, obviously the answer to, you know, who is Peter's father is answered, but
Darth Vader.
you know which character it is in the trailer, so, like, it's
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck does make another small cameo in this film.
Nice.
He's panned by in a bar scene. But also another character, like, there's, like, Sean Gunn as Kraglin will, like, just, again, like, there's a moment where he just kind of breaks your heart, and it's... I love Sean Gunn. I'm a huge Gilmore Girls fan, so, like, Kirk just works everywhere, including space.
Matt Murdock.
And
I'm still trying to guess which one's his father. Tony Stark. It's Tony Stark.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. I'll give him his middle name. The Living.
Shaun of. The Living. Dead. That's not even a movie.
You almost had it.
Almost.
Anyways, it's like, again, it's I guess, you know, like, I feel like I'm rambling here because I keep trying to come up with non-spoiler explanations for things, because, and not just because I don't want to spoil it for Gen and Nick, because I don't want to spoil it for the people in the audience who haven't seen it yet. That word's good, movie good, see movie, go see movie, good movie. Oh, hit
Good
rock
job,
with
Stick.
stick, make rock with stick. Watch bad thing happen to Missouri. That would have worked as a good segue for later.
Anyway.
It's
Anyway.
you know, but, you know, I think there is one thing we could spoil, but I think we should spin that off as a separate story, or almost like we already planned to.
Yeah, because
Again,
It's true.
Stan Lee was in Guardians in the Galaxy.
Guardians
I
in the
assume.
Galaxy. Wow, I think that's the Asylum
Well,
knockoff.
that's true. They are in the galaxy that they are defending.
Guardians in the Galaxy that sits on the shelf right next to Snakes on a Train. It's
Yes.
and I Am Omega.
And Atlantic Rim.
I've seen that. I've seen Atlantic Rim. It is so bad. It is so bad. It makes Transmorphers look good.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Asylum.
God. Never stop.
That's great.
But Stan Lee again?
But Stan Lee. No, we all know that Stan Lee has been in every single MCU movie up to date. And it's been rumored for a long time that he was playing the character of Uatu the Watcher. And
I always pronounced it Uatu.
Uatu?
I mean, Nick, how do you pronounce it?
Oh yeah, no.
I think it is Uatu, but I'm just
My
trying
bad.
to remember from a cartoon he was in a few years back, so.
No, that's how it's spelled here in the
The only
article.
cartoon I can think of that he appeared in is the 90s X-Men cartoon.
I watched the
never
hell
seen
out of
him in
that,
the
man.
comics.
Anyways.
But
Stanley.
there's a small spoiler that in the newest movie, he is seen talking to a group of Watchers and mentions posing as a Federal Express delivery driver, which is a direct reference to his appearance in Captain America: Civil War.
Yes.
So, turns out it's true. He is the Watcher.
Well,
Yay, we were right all along.
Technically, we haven't had it confirmed that he's a Uatu, but
it's pretty much.
But it's pretty much like.
I mean,
it's
that's about as solid
that.
as it can be.
It's meant to imply it as much as they're ever going to imply it. It's the scene in question. It's literally like it's some of the characters are traveling in a ship, and the way they travel in ships are going through gates, like hyperspace gates, effectively, and they pass through like the atmosphere of a planet where a bunch of and so you just pan over while a ship flies by, and to a bunch of Watchers sitting around, and there's Stan Lee in a spacesuit talking to three clearly like Watchers. Like you couldn't have like if you like they pulled a drawing of a Watcher out of a comic book and slapped it in the movie, and he's just having a conversation, and then the other the Watchers in that scene with him start leaving, and then he starts going, "Hey, wait, you guys are my ride home."
Good.
Yeah, and so it's
this pleases me.
It's just a really brief little like cutaway scene.
But it's
actually,
still great that
home,
like
I think the ride home is a post-credits part like that. But he's just talking to the Watchers about being the delivery driver, but it heavily implies, and it's meant to officially confirm that all of Stan Lee's appearances have been the same character.
And I'm good with that. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. You know what it does is it changes his cameos. It changes his cameos from being something that pulled you out of the movie into being a consistent part of their universe. And so, if anything, I think it makes the cameos better, because before, you had to suspend disbelief that apparently there were all these people walking around the MCU who looked exactly like Stan Lee. While now it is instead he's the same guy in all of these appearances. So it's a single character. One guy walking around with the same face who's somehow traveling between planets and doing stuff. It makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. I'm more comfortable with that. I'm good with that.
Space Stan Lee makes more sense than fourth wall breaking.
Yes.
Yep, it does now.
Yeah, so I like it. I like the fact that the entire reason the scene was included was because of the fan theory. Kevin Feige was talking with at a press junket, and a member of the press asked him directly if he was Uatu, and Feige said specifically that it was because it was a fan theory. When they were looking to do a cameo for Guardians, they did that on purpose because they thought the fan theory was entertaining.
Yay.
So, remember, fans, if you theorize wild, crazy things on the internet, 1 out of every 3 million times, it might actually accidentally become canon.
Yay! Sure,
no.
Why not?
But you know what? We've been talking about nice things for a while.
No.
A happy world.
I know where this is going.
A happy world, but I think it's time that we transfer ourselves to the Carnival of Sadness.
Can't be. How is it back? You guys were doing so well, DC.
And Nick and Gen can't hear this voice that I do because of the way that we feed audio to them. But listeners at home, enjoy this for just a moment. The Carnival of Sadness. Because the digital effect doesn't feed back to Skype.
DC, you were okay. Let me just give a brief second to say why I'm more frustrated with this before we talk about what happened.
Before we even tell them what it is?
Yeah, because DC had been doing good stuff recently. Rebirth has not sucked. As you guys may recall, in my best of last year, Rebirth #1 was my single issue of the year. It was amazing. And frankly, this story relates to the Teen Titans, and you know what? They've been doing really well with the Titans recently. The Titans book, the one that's coming out right now, the Wally West-led Titans book, really good. Highly worth your time.
But you're not allowed to have nice things, Nick. Nice things are just not meant for you.
The Teen Titans straight-to-video movie, Judas Contract, not only did they do a good adaptation of the classic story, they got rid of the skeezy parts. Like, really, they dialed down the skeeziness for once. Like, they were doing so well, and then they're like, all right, hey, remember how Young Justice was coming back? And I'm like, hell yeah. And they're like, hey, remember that Teen Titans live action show we were talking about? Hell yeah. Wait, those are two really weirdly Teen Titans-y things. Why are you announcing this together? We're starting a brand new streaming service. No, please no. A brand new streaming service.
It's good for you. Enjoy it, Nick.
A brand new streaming service just for DC shows, including the exclusive place where the Teen Titans show and the new season of Young Justice are going to be.
Don't you want to pay $9.99 for another service, Nick?
No, I don't.
Especially not
for only DC properties. Jiminy Miminy.
It's not like DC properties are exclusively on any other streaming services co-owned by Warner Brothers.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the other thing, is that there's DC stuff all over the place. I mean, yeah, like as Trae's alluding to, you have the CW app, which has the Berlanti shows. You have the CW Seed, which has
the other Berlanti shows.
The animated tie-ins to the Berlanti shows in Constantine. Then you have Netflix, where a bunch of the straight-to-video movies and the old seasons of Justice League are.
And Young Justice.
And Young Justice. In fact, where it was heavily implied that the streaming from that service was part of why Young Justice came back in the first place.
Yeah.
But are they going to put it on Netflix where people watched it? Of course they're not.
No.
Also, why are both these shows about the Teen Titans?
Well, I'm like, why the hell is Warner Brothers launching a third fucking service? They own the CW. And so they literally own the CW Seed and the CW streaming content. Like, they pulled, like, let me tell you, if they fed my only concern is that all those DC characters are going to pop off of the CW app and onto this new service. Now, to be fair, if that happened, I could actually probably justify paying for the service because, you know, I'm technically not paying for the service that carries them right now, but I don't want to. I really don't want to. I'm getting tired of this. Like, at least
I can't just keep getting new streaming services just
right.
for one or two shows. It's stupid.
Right. It's like it's. I mean, I will say, like, the one thing is, like, the CW. Like, I hated when all those shows popped off of Hulu. But the fact that app was free meant that I could deal with the fact that their commercials are 10 times louder than their fucking shows. Let me tell you, I have to be so fast on the mute button because, like, nobody at the CW is bothering to normalize commercials to the shows. Like the sound.
No, I've noticed that too.
It's ridiculous. It's the same problem on the CW Seed app too, because like my wife Krista was rewatching Pushing Daisies on CW Seed, and it just would start like yelling at her, and the show was leveled so quiet compared to the commercials that like it was like when we watch we watched this week's episode of Arrow yesterday because Krista was busy most of this week, so we were a little behind on couple of days, but so we watched like. I had to keep muting the TV during those ads. Now, a service you paid for, wouldn't have that problem, I guess. But the fact is that the CW app hasn't always been the most reliable, and the only reason I don't complain about it all the time is because it costs me $0. If you started trying to make me pay money for the kind of infrastructure that I think that Warner Brothers is actually willing to invest in a service like this, fuck it.
Well,
Pardon my language.
I gotta bring this up. How many like, so we first have that glaring stupidity that is having another streaming service. But I'm going to bring up the other thing that I think is worth discussing here. How many versions of the Teen Titans do we need?
Yeah.
Because, okay, let me break down just how many versions of the Teen Titans are in media right now. Because we have the super kid-friendly Teen Titans Go on Cartoon Network. Okay, so that's attracting a little kid audience. You have, well, they don't call themselves the Teen Titans, they are the Teen Titans on Young Justice, so that's another version of the team. The DC straight-to-video movies, while they have a similar art style to the Teen Titans, are a separate continuity. So that is another version of the Teen Titans. And now we have this fourth live-action version.
Yeah.
All concurrently happening at the same time.
And when the live action show was in development at TNT, it made sense. And obviously TNT chose to pass on it. And I mean, to be fair to the Titans show, that I don't think anybody wanted the show. And there was definitely no, like, I think that show would have ended up on the CW if the CW had said, yes, we've got room on our programming schedule for it. But the CW's got a higher bar because they're literally currently running 4 shows at once on the air. You know,
the other thing though is that it really depends on which characters they use, like what kind of a special effects budget that they would need. I mean, you have characters like Nightwing.
I know.
Well, I remember hearing they wanted to use Nightwing and Raven, but
yeah,
I don't know. Again, you're a classic Titans reader. Like, I mean, like, what kind of characters would you even would work very well in a live action setting? I mean, obviously Nightwing because we've done a zillion Batmen, but
yeah.
But like Raven, I don't know how well she'd work in a live action setting. Like,
well, and it depends on what kind of story they want to do. Like, if they want to do like Raven's whole like daddy issues, like that's gonna be a lot of work for them.
Yeah, that turns into an episode of Supernatural.
Well, I mean, just trying to do Gar in live action is gonna be like I'm not excited for like the special effects they'd have to pull on him, like just him.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So I know that so the pilot script, I don't know about what ended up in the final pilot that was shot that TNT passed on, but I know in the pilot script the team had Dick Grayson. We had an Oracle Barbara Gordon, like an Oracle version of Barbara Gordon, and then Raven, Starfire, Hawk, and Dove.
Oh.
Yeah, so no
Hawk and Dove?
Yeah.
Wait,
interesting.
And again, this is not necessarily even what ended up in the finally shot pilot.
I'm just trying to remember if Hawk and Dove were ever Titans. That's all.
Yeah, this is the team that was in the script. The Beast Boy and Cyborg did not get included in the pilot. With Beast Boy, it's probably just because the powers wouldn't really work well in the live-action atmosphere. And Cyborg being used right now is in part of the Justice League films. You wouldn't want to necessarily... Like, it's one thing to have 2 Barry Allen Flashes running around who are just kind of equal level. It's another thing, though, to have, like, this guy gets to be a member of the Justice League in this universe, but only a member of the...
Teen Titans,
Titans in this other universe. It's a
they could have put Speedy in. That would have been easy
Well,
enough.
actually, here's the thing: is that they wouldn't want to put Speedy in because obviously we have Roy. Roy's already running around the Berlanti-verse. And one of the things that the Titans writers wanted to do when they started putting it together was make sure it could possibly be compatible with the Berlanti stuff.
Well, like, if they're not... I mean, like, honestly, there's enough of the characters existing in the Berlanti-verse, I'm almost sad that they don't just, like, see if Colton Haynes would be willing to put on the red again, get Speedy back, get...
Well, the only reason they lost him was because Teen Wolf needed him more, and...
I mean, you see if Wally's willing to take a break from the Flash for a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, you'd be calling Roy Arsenal instead his other name from the comics instead of Speedy, because Speedy is the code name being used by Thea.
Thea, yeah, but still, I mean, it's still Roy.
Yeah, Thea's the TV show version of Mia Dearden, so because she's Thea Dearden Queen.
Sorry, I'm making weird faces because I'm trying to think of Donna Troy.
Donna would be a good one.
Right?
She would be. She's hard to introduce without
Wonder
Woman.
There's ways of doing it.
Oh, yeah. I know. Well, you know what it is? It all depends on how compatible they want to make the show. Because
I
do believe,
definitely.
Well,
but then you have the other issue though,
involved in the show now.
If they wanna make it compatible with the Berlanti verse, you also have the problem that apparently Manu Bennett is being a pain in the butt, not wanting to return to Arrow over one thing or the other, and Slade Wilson basically is the Titans' #1 villain. I mean, ever since Judas Contract, he's their main baddie.
Well, it's an interesting problem because Berlanti is, I believe now, I can't be, I have to go check my source here, but I think Berlanti is now involved in the Titan show where he wasn't before, when it was originally being pitched. Here's the thing. If you want to put this in the Berlanti verse, you'd have to put it in the multiverse because you'd have to put it in the Supergirl universe because that's the universe where Batman exists.
Oh, that's true. We did have a throwaway line mentioning
there have
Batman.
There have been lines mentioning Batman in there have been lines about Batman in the Supergirl universe that they've been intentionally vague, so they don't have to pay people money, but
they're fantastic nevertheless.
Yeah, and they've been really clear that Batman doesn't exist in the Arrowverse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been an intentional, like, yeah, Berlanti is involved in Titans now.
To put it in perspective for anyone who didn't catch those Supergirl references, there's a fantastic scene around the point where the Guardian was introduced on Supergirl when the characters are talking to Kara and they're like, well, wouldn't you want help even if it is just from a vigilante? And her response is, oh, Clark had a partner like that once. He was this brooding guy really into gadgets. I never liked him.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
Yeah, and they also, isn't that other city where they wear masks? And they've also, like, and they're explicit.
In the Superman episode, there was the family that gets saved by Superman, and then they're like, we're moving back to Gotham.
Yeah.
That
So yeah, murder clowns are so much better than aliens. Actually, that's a really good question. Are murder clowns so much better than aliens?
To be fair, in Gotham City, if you lock your doors at night, you're probably pretty safe. In Metropolis, people rob banks with laser guns at noon. I'm just saying, I don't know when... Gotham, as long as you're in, like, by the time lights are out...
I don't know. I watched Batman 66. People rob people all the time in the daylight.
I'm going to bring it back a little and say that I really just... I know they're not gonna, but I could just hope and dream that they put Dick in his disco suit.
Oh my god.
Because that is my favorite outfit of his.
But
I love that
stupid
stupid thing.
Enough. That's not gritty. Pay $9.99 to watch brooding Dick Grayson in his red Nightwing suit.
God,
I
hate the red suit.
Yeah, do you guys know, I found out why they introduced Nightwing, and it makes me really laugh, and it just seems like a fun way to close this out. So, Marv Wolfman and George Perez were very successful with New Teen Titans, and people were loving the book. It was selling way better than anyone expected, and the guys who were writing Batman were like, well, we want to use Robin again. Can't we age him down? And they were like, well, our Robin is like in college, and we've implied that he's having sex, so we really shouldn't age him down. And they were like, what if we gave him a new costume and you can just put another kid in the Robin suit? So yeah, that
And
is
that's how we got
unfortunately where
Jason
Jason
Todd.
came from, but um,
And none of us liked him. Oh, he was dead before I started reading comics. As he should have stayed.
I've read stuff from the Jason Todd era. It's universally terrible.
Jason Todd was better dead.
Even
Todd
even
was
good
better
stories, even good stories from that era, Jason is insufferable. I'm serious.
I hate Jason Todd so much. Jason Todd is the enemy of all that is good and righteous in the universe and should have stayed dead. Jason Todd being dead was the only good thing that Jason Todd ever did, because Jason Todd then gave a representation of Bruce's failures constantly in the background that he was always judging against. And then he got to feel bad for Stephanie Brown, who, yeah, she didn't die, but he thought she was dead. She was supposed to actually be dead in the comics. And did Stephanie Brown get a fucking glass case? No, there was no glass case for Stephanie Brown. Boy, was Bruce lucky that she wasn't actually dead, or else that would have been really awkward. There's a Short Pact comic in which she comes back, and it's just, oh, of course you didn't, because you saw through it. Clearly, you were smart enough to, and you knew I wasn't dead the whole time. And Bruce was like, yes, that's exactly what happened. Like, God damn it. God, so I know this is unrelated, and I just want to say this one thing. So I had been not reading Batman books for like 10 years, and I found out that someone was going to be taking over Robin from, because the brief window where Stephanie Brown was Robin from, like, in the middle of Tim Drake's thing, pre-Damian Wayne. And there's going to be a new Robin, and it's a girl. I'm going to go look it up. And I kept trying to Google who the new Robin was, and I kept getting really confused because, I thought like I was getting across like form filters and things like that, because a spoiler is the new Robin. I'm like, oh, they're not willing to break the spoiler, because I didn't know there was a character named Spoiler. So that was because I hadn't been reading Bat books for like a decade at that point. So that was the internet, and yay. Okay, so by the way, fuck Warner Brothers for trying to. I've now said the F-bomb multiple times this episode, but really, I do not want to pay for another streaming service, and so I guess I'm not watching.
Agreed.
You know what? And I'm not even going to steal this stuff, man. If I'm just not going to watch season 3 of Young Justice, and I am not going to watch Titans, and these shows will die on the vine because they put them behind a paywall that I am not willing to pay for another service. I'm already paying for Hulu, Amazon, and Netflix.
It's just frustrating. They need to stop doing this.
And
like
Sling.
It hurts that we work so hard to save Young Justice, and I feel like they're just farting in my face over it.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of other Young Justice fans feel the same way.
I was so worried the instant that they said they were bringing it back, and no one mentioned Netflix at all. Like,
I should have been worried. I should have been worried.
I was a little concerned, and this is just really a big old a steaming pile of bull crap. It's like I'm already paying for 3 services. I don't pay for cable. I pay for Sling. Those are my live cable channels. And that's how I watch that's how I watch Doctor Who on BBC America through there. Thank God they have on demand this season. It's like it's a little weird, but I'm paying $10 a month for Netflix. $8 a month for Hulu. I'm paying $30 a month for Sling, and I'm paying $100 a year for Amazon, and that is what I'm willing to pay for television. Yes, I don't pay for cable, so that seems like a reasonable rate for television, but I'm not willing to pay more. That's why, like, when Star Trek Discovery finally finds its ass to some sort of completed state, I'll pay for it, but I'm going to sign up for CBS All Access. I'm going to watch the show, and then I'm going to wait till the whole season is up. I'm going to watch the whole show within a month, and then I'm going to cancel the service. Because I am not signing up for a month-to-month thing for one show. I'm not signing up for 2 shows. Like, the reason why I'm willing to pay for Hulu and Netflix is because And Amazon, I'm willing to pay for.
I think we've made the point.
Yeah,
we've made the point.
You got to give me at least 10 shows. I need 10 shows from a service before I'll pay for it. That's it. That's my mandate.
Okay. Good mandate. We should move on.
To convention news.
To convention news.
Angry.
And boy, howdy, do we have some interesting news. Such as...
Take us to Michigan again.
I will. I'll take us to Dearborn, Michigan, where the 4th Midwest Media Expo was scheduled to take place, but unfortunately had to cancel.
Wherefore did it cancel? See, I used wherefore correctly.
I know, it throws people off.
Oh, it does, because it has where in it, but it means why.
We're educated.
Yeah. Reading the article because I'm caught up on these things and very professional. So it seems like the hotel, the venue they went through was like really kind of janky. It was the Edward Village, Michigan Hotel, and that had gone through 5 names in the last 10 years. And when the current owners took over in April of 2016, they laid off the entirety of the hotel's management. So not a super stable place to work with.
Oh. Oh dear.
Yeah.
So yeah, the current management took over like right before last year's con, and we don't have confirmation from the staff, but I believe that the contract was signed for this year's convention was signed prior to the event management taking over. I know that the convention staff was not informed of the staffing change in the sales office, which is super great. And there were just ended up being some irreconcilable differences between convention management and the hotel staff, and we don't know exactly what happened as to what caused like the thing to come to a head. But 3 days before the convention, the effectively they could not come to an amicable agreement, and 3 days before the convention, even though because the convention management pretty much said they didn't have to honor the old contract. Not the convention, the hotel management said they didn't have to honor the old contract, and so they pretty much just got turned away. Now, the amazing thing that happened with this, it sucks that this con got canceled, but the amazing thing that happened is the Midwest Media Expo, and these are not inexperienced con runners. This is the same. They are run separately, but it's the same people who run UMACon. Which is a pretty self-explanatory. But so what's pretty amazing is what happened is that this last weekend, even though the Midwest Media Expo didn't happen and they refunded all the attendees who pre-regged, there was still something to do if you cleared your weekend.
So I guess that's good. Not
they
as
did
horrible.
They ran a fan appreciation event with a few voice actors, a few concerts, open tabletop gaming, a small vendor room, so a miniature not con.
Yeah, not con is what they called it.
Yeah.
That's clever. I like that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was really small and cute, and
it was free.
Yeah, it was free to everyone who pre-registered for the expo originally, and $20 for everyone else.
Well, the daytime events were all free.
They were.
The vendor room, open gaming, and all that stuff was free. The only thing that cost money was anything they had to rent specialized equipment for. So
yeah,
it's
understandable.
So people who pre-regged for Midwest Media Expo, even though they got refunded, still got to go into free for the only events that had ticket prices were the dances and concerts. And if you pre-regged, the dances and concerts were still free for you, even though you got refunded. And if you didn't, because those are thoughts of the people who like set that weekend aside and traveled, And then for people who didn't pre-reg, the concerts, if you paid for the concert, I believe you got into the dance afterwards also, just on the concert ticket. But if you didn't pay for the concert, the dance was like $5. And then the concerts, so the MC Chris concert was $20. And then the Fox and Pepper concert was $10. The fact is, being able to go to an MC Chris concert for $20 and have a whole convention around it for nothing is actually, not a bad deal.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. He's a name that, if you're a fan, that's a pretty good deal, and he's a name that draws in quite a lot of people. So, and he was on Sequest.
So that I would rate that as
C-Lab. He was not on Sequest. Oh my God!
I was about to say,
how did you? Very different show. C-Lab.
Well, the point is, things, what could have been a really bad situation turned around. We don't normally get to talk about that with cons, so I'm going to be happy about this one.
Yeah, no, it's. I know some of the people who run the event. Morgan's a good dude. The guy in charge. It's these guys were stuck in an impossible situation and turned around and made something great. I know that some of the artists and vendors besides were offered either to have a refund or were offered to let their table move to UMACon, and UMACon is a much bigger event than the Midwest Media Expo, so like getting a table there is much harder and a much more profitable experience for those vendors. So like they did everything they could to make this right to the people who like had their weekend canceled. And you can't really ask for a convention to do much more than that.
Yeah.
It's sadly, Nick, I think we need to go to a place that's not good news.
Because I'm apparently the guy who is out to take down all of these convention predators. At least that's what it feels like half the time. So, meanwhile,
everything's pleasant, Nick. I don't know what you're talking about.
Not in Salt Lake City, Utah. Where
U-Haul.
It's like it's the lazy version of U-Haul. In Salt Lake City, Utah, a 35-year-old man named Derek Lamar Jones was arrested for allegedly trying to lure teenage girls at local comic conventions into having sex with him. Yep. Jones was trying to get an underage girl to travel from Ashburn, Virginia to meet him in the Baltimore area and offered to pay for the travel.
Yeah,
the girl's parents found out and alerted authorities. He's been charged with 2 counts of illegal use of communication systems to solicit lascivious intent between a minor the ages of 15 and 18.
So he's a giant neck.
What?
He has a giant neck.
Oh, I thought you said he's a giant Nick. I'm like, what the hell?
No. Oh God, I just held up his face over my name. That's not that. That's
bad.
Anyways, so what's amazing is that like the police. So he was luring from Virginia to Maryland, and the police had to go hunt him down and arrest him in Utah.
Jesus.
He has been at the police are actively looking for people to come forward with information about him. We're gonna have this information linked in the show notes. But if you have any information or know any potential victims that might be willing to reach out to police, they can reach Detective Jay Seuss of the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office at 703-777-0475. He has been at events since March. He's been at events in Orlando, Albuquerque, Flagstaff, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Sacramento, and Salt Lake City. So he's been all over the country. He's been known to use aliases while pretending to be a teenager or a guy in his 20s.
Super gross.
Let me see if I can find the Kanovsky Zan and Lee Volgan are aliases that Jones has used. Again, Derek Lamar Jones is allegedly trying to lure teenage girls into having sex with him, and it is just all sorts of
Gross.
gross.
Say what it is. Gross.
It's fucking gross.
Gross.
Ugh.
So yeah, and I'm gonna again, and we have photos on the on our article about this.
We also have the number that you can call if you have information.
If you have information, and you should, if you know anyone who might have been in contact with this guy, who, just please reach out to police.
Please do.
This is a big deal.
Super gross.
Super gross. Don't you hate creepy people?
Yes.
Yep.
So, how about not creepy people? Let's talk about that instead. Let's talk about let's make that the let's put some nice stuff around that then, because let's go to a convention. Well, it's not nice necessarily, but let's go to.
It's not as horrible.
No.
Yeah,
That's something.
yeah. So for some of you may not know, is that same weekend that Midwest Media Expo took place, there was another convention taking place over in West Plains, Missouri, called OzCon. OzCon's a small gaming convention. I went there a couple of years ago in 2015. It is, I believe that year was one of our picks for best, out of our annual pick where we list our favorite conventions that year. That was my pick. I'm fairly certain it was probably tied with Independence.
I think it was.
So OzCon is it's a gaming convention. It's held in local Civic Center in West Plains, Missouri. West Plains, Missouri is not a big town, and it was going on, and they had to cancel the convention Saturday night and just pretty much call off Sunday entirely, as West Plains, Missouri, where it was taking place, was hit with historically high floods. Just massive floodings. There suddenly was a lake in the middle of West Plains, Missouri. People lost their homes. I know a couple of lives were lost. No one at the convention died, thankfully. And the convention center itself was on high ground.
That's good at least.
People were being evacuated at one point. The only reason why the convention had to shut down was because they lost power. And then when power came back on, there was water leaking over electrical boxes, so they had to shut down the power to the building to keep it safe. And so that's really the only reason why they had to evacuate people from the main part of the building to to another half of the building, and so they had to shut down the convention. It is the attendees were separated from their hotels. They had to be I know at least a couple people who I know were there ended up spending the night at a local church that was being used as a Red Cross emergency shelter.
Oh, jeez.
It is just absolutely. I want to see if I can find some photos here, because it is just, and West Plains just keeps getting hammered with more storms. It is really, really bad. I don't know if you can tell in this photo, but that is not supposed to be underwater. And so the convention did everything they could. Obviously, there's what do you do when your town goes underwater?
Right?
I don't know. I live in a river town. I don't know about you guys. But and I know this happened in Eau Claire, but this happens in Lafayette all the time, in Lafayette, Indiana, where I'm under in the springtime, I'm under 3 flood warnings a day.
I live in a river. Does that count?
You live in a
No, I don't. I don't actually live in a river. It was a joke.
But I've heard some people like there's so one guy came on and complained on their face. I'm mad at this one dude who went on their Facebook page, but complained the convention should have known.
You live under a bridge by a river.
I don't know. It's most people have been pretty grateful to the convention. The convention did like when during this thing when it happened, like people who weren't able to talk to their because obviously teenagers will attend conventions. Parents who hadn't heard back from their kids because the cell phone service was out, but they were still able to get online, reached out to the convention through Facebook and were like asked the convention to get a hold of their kids for them to check in, and like the convention reached out and helped connect these kids to their parents, and like they made sure that everyone was accounted for, was telling people not to go out into the storm. It was I was really impressed. There's one annoying dude who I only saw one person complaining on Facebook because he drove into the flood and blamed the convention for letting him leave. I'm sorry.
That's not funny.
I'm sorry.
That's hilarious.
If you are in flooding conditions and you see water in the road and you do not know how deep it is, even if you know the road, if you're at all unsure, you never, under any circumstances, drive into that water because the water may be deeper than you realize and your car will get stuck. This bozo drove, like, even if someone, like, he claims that he got the route from someone at the convention who worked there and that they said it would be okay, but you know what? Flood conditions change within minutes, so even if it was perfectly clear when he was at the convention center driving out into it, it could have changed within that time frame, and so you just, like, you don't drive into flood water. You don't ever drive out into flood water because you don't know, even if you think you know how deep it is, there is a chance that the road dips down, like, because there are spots sometimes where roads will dip down briefly and dip back up, so it just looks like a puddle, but suddenly you're in 3 feet of water and your car's going to get immobilized. It's don't drive into flood water. Just stupid motherfucker. I said it like twice already. Like I've F-bombed a couple times, so I feel like I get to say that.
This is like number 4.
I know.
Yeah, it's over.
We need a counter on the screen for you.
Oh, okay. Let's see here.
All right, I think it's about time we get to the mailbag because I think we got.
Yeah. Our mailbag got flooded.
Oh my God.
With letters.
Nick, are you hearing this?
Yeah, I'm hearing it.
Again? Are you
You
in
can't
slow
see it, but I'm
motion?
finger gunning. That was a good pun.
Again?
No, you were you're like really lagging.
Again's a frozen blurry picture.
What?
You're blurring and you're lagging.
I feel like there's been a time difference between us and Gen. And
What?
we're traveling at the normal rate of time, but time in Plover, Wisconsin is traveling slowly. And
I'm not that far away from Plover at the moment, so
you might just be outside of the temporal distortion field. Gen, are you still there?
Hello?
Hi, Gen!
There we go.
Hey! Did you guys get my pun? Did you hear my great pun?
You digitized during it.
Oh, no, it was really good. It was really good. Let me tell it to you again.
Go for it again.
Because I was talking about how our mailbag got flooded with letters. And then I finger gunned. And I told everybody that I finger gunned because they can't see it.
Works for me.
Because it's a good pun.
I believe
So,
you.
our first letter is from Keith.
Keith.
Thanks, Keith. Subject, Hall of Awesome. Hi, NNT. I've decided to have my name put in the Hall of Awesome as Keith Shizuo.
Done.
Nice.
Done.
Also, do you guys have any interesting stories concerning haggling at cons that you either witnessed or had happen to you? Keep freeing in the Spock world. Well
played, Keith. Well played.
Since all of us have been artists and have been in artist alleys and vendor rooms, yes, we've experienced haggling.
One
Fuck yes.
con that was over a Valentine's Day. One con I had actually forgotten my gift for my now wife, then girlfriend, Raina, and we were at the con, and Raina was having a phenomenally bad weekend. And I found this little Cardcaptor Sakura figurine, and for those of you who don't know, that's a very important series to both of us. It was actually the theme of our wedding, was Cardcaptor Sakura, at this booth at the con, and I told them what was going on and how just frustrating my day had been, and they gave me a discount on this rare little figurine because it was Valentine's Day, and that's my best haggling story.
So I usually just think of people trying to haggle with me unsuccessfully.
Yeah, same here.
Well, I don't have $20 on me. I have 10, and I'm like going, that's great. The item costs $20. That's
yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's like, my cost is 15, so go bite me.
This is too expensive. Yeah, because I made it by hand. It took me an hour.
But your time's not worth my
Come
anything.
on.
So I guess
well,
I had a happy
time's not
haggling
worth
story.
my money.
We've all had unfair hagglers at our individual booths, unfortunately.
Well, it's people always try crap, you know? It's, I'm like, well, you know, so it's like I used to be a vendor, and it used to happen more often when I was, like, selling CDs. I used to sell, I spent about a year working with a couple of guys where I sold Japanese import CDs at conventions for about a year. And, like, there's always somebody who's trying to, like, make a deal. And it's just like, no. Like, well, that was also especially ironic because the business model behind that company, which it was the amount of effort to make it happen that made it not worth doing anymore. But the profit was good because the business model is that we went out. Most people in the import CDs will import new CDs, and that gets super expensive because Japanese CD prices are through the roof. The way that Rising Stuff used to do it is that they would go out to used CD stores in Japan, physically would go out to these used CD stores, and used CDs go for, like, nothing in Japan.
Right.
Because, you know, so used CDs are almost nothing. So what they would do is they'd go out and, like, buy tons of stock from these used CD stores, ship it in a box, and, like, cheap ship it to America, and obviously we'd have to, like, you know, pay the taxes and fines and, you know, stuff like that, but because of that, it meant that, like, all the other CD sellers, like anyone else who was selling you know, J-pop and J-rock at that time, was having to pay, like, all these other people who were importing new CDs were paying, like, having to charge really high prices. But because, you know, if we got, you know, that CD for 100 yen, we could charge, but so we were but that meant that, like, yeah, technically there were good margins on some of our products, but we were undercutting everybody with genuine products. We were undercutting the bootleggers. That was the, like, I got this guy kicked out of, there was this terrible convention that only happened once called Kikoi-Con, but I got this bootlegger kicked out because they were selling bootleg anime soundtracks, and, like, I had the real one, and I had, like, it was the Dot Hack soundtrack, I remember specifically, because it was a nice cardboard case on the official release. And this guy was selling it in a jewel case, so it was really obviously it was a bootleg, because it hadn't gotten a jewel case release, at least at that time. That version of the soundtrack wasn't on in a jewel case. So we got them, like, kicked out, but then I didn't until afterwards notice the price tag on that jewel case release that guy was trying to sell was literally twice the price that we were selling the legitimate copy of it for. And so, like, you have to understand, like, I know this is a long way to go about saying that, like, we had really low prices. Like, they were prices lower than anything else, but still, people would walk up to me and try to haggle on a $3 CD. Like, it would be like a $3 Mini Money single, and that, like, anybody else would be charging them $15 for. We were selling it for $3, and someone would say, but I only have $1. Like, I don't care that you only have $1. Like, that means you can't afford it, and that's too bad for you. But like,
Move on.
This is a business here to make money, and
Right.
we're already like, we could charge you $15 for this, and no one would complain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're.
Now we all know we've been there.
I hate it.
We've all seen it happen.
All right, so I think that's.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other haggling stories?
No.
Besides me just ranting like a madman. All right, so let's move on to our next letter. Moving on to, we got one from Brenda. Brenda Gibner, longtime writer. Subject: Star Wars. Message. I feel bad because we sat on this one for 2 weeks because she sent it in on the Sunday before we'd normally record, but we'd recorded the episode on Saturday last episode because we were at NoBrandCon. So this has been. So Brenda, we would have gotten to this sooner if we had been doing things normally on Sunday nights. But so Brenda writes, "Hello, got Google Music again so I can listen to the podcast." Well, I'm glad you're listening again, Brenda. I've got to say that I'm very excited for what came out of Celebration this year. Episode 8 looks amazing, and I really can't wait. I'm quite sad about Rebels ending, but I hope Disney will do another series soon, as I know there are stories that can be told, as well as I hope, like in Rogue One, they integrate Rebels characters in movies. That's my fault that came out weirdly, not Brenda's. Sorry. Also enjoyed seeing a few friends post pictures and hope for my little family to go someday. Already told my husband I want us to go to Disney World in 2019 for Star Wars Land. May the Force be with you. Yeah, I
am also sad Rebels is ending, for the record.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen all of it, but I really liked what they were doing, and it's kind of a shame. But they're probably trying to open up more freedom for the filmmakers since Rebels is canon now.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rebels was always canon.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, the Ghost is in Rogue One.
Well, I love that about Rogue One, that, like, the willingness to accept and, like, bringing canon from the TV series into
I was about to say, yeah, the Ghost is in Rogue One. Saw Gerrera from Clone Wars and also a little bit in Rebels is also in, yeah, you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah, because, there are certain properties that are supposed to be shared universes where things from the movies often affect the television version, but the television versions don't ever get referred to in the movies. I'm speaking to you, also owned by Disney Marvel.
It rhymes with Barbel's Magens of Beeld.
Yeah. Like, at least the Netflix corner gets to justify that I think they're all supposed to be taking place prior to the Inhumans outbreak. Like, for why they haven't mentioned it. Like, I think we're still dealing with pre Avengers 2 when the Defenders is going to take place. But yeah. But yay for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Good times.
Good times. And it's good hearing from you again, Brendan. Glad you're listening again, because people like you, without you, there wouldn't be people like you.
All right, we've got one more letter from Langland. Operation Nuts and Bolts, we got screwed. Message: Hey, you nerds in your ties. So I have two things to say in this message to talk about.
Oh, shoot, I didn't check that for spoilers, did I?
No, I don't think you did. The first one is, of course, NoBrandCon. I enjoyed your live podcast, and I hope you didn't mind my antics again. Overall, I was impressed with this year's con at the Chula Vista, even though I still think the layout of the place is terrible. I enjoyed the virtual reality they had in the video game room. So yeah, I approve this year's convention. That's for sure. I will not say spoilers. Now on to the best part of the letter.
I don't think there are any spoilers in there, really.
Okay.
I just read it.
I watched the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie and it was epic. But to tell you how I feel, I need Groot to tell you my thoughts for me. I am Groot. I laughed my butt off a lot. I am Groot. There are so many awesome scenes in this movie. All the best parts involved little Groot. I am Groot. Also, by seeing just what the movie is setting up with all the future MCU films, I am excited. I am Groot. I also love how they always have plenty of humor to counter balance the action. I am Groot. And I really thought Mantis was quite cute, despite what is said in the movie. I am Groot. This is a really good movie, and I wouldn't mind watching it again. Well, that's all I've got to say. Have an awesome one, you guys. Langland. Thanks, Langland.
Yay, Langland. And sadly, it looks like we lost Gen there in the middle.
Oh, no.
Because internet issues, which is the only reason why we've got a still frame of Nick is because I can't get a good camera angle on him with the current computer setup. On the off chance Gen dials back in. But I can go to me. So we're going to go to me. Because, let's respond to Langland's letter. Because we're people, aren't we, Nick?
We sure are.
We sure are. Here,
I'm really excited to watch the movie.
Yeah, it's
keep talking.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just trying to fix something real quick because there we go, and we'll just move little Nick here.
Oh, I'm like Baby Groot.
Yes. Let's move you over here.
Baby Nick.
Move you over here.
Baby Nick. Baby Nick. I'm sorry. Please. We should stop doing that.
Here.
I look forward to seeing the movie. I can't wait. Just haven't had the chance to yet. Seeing it with my wife and my father later this week.
Yeah. All right. There we go. That'll work. So just wanted to have you on camera if we can. As for No Brand Con, yeah, I think the layout issues, they're in works to try to fix those issues. I should disclose that technically I've always been on No Brand Con staff just in a non-positioned role. I've maintained my technical staff access. But starting with this next year's convention, I am co-head of advertising for No Brand Con, which is now going to mean that any official reporting on No Brand Con is going to have to be done by either Nick or Gen, because I can't anymore, as it would be a conflict. Gen's back!
Yay!
But
Yay.
I know that
Sorry,
we're
messed up your formatting.
Nah, that's fine. I had a backup plan that worked for a few minutes there. But to go back to just to say with No Brand Con, I know that we're looking at ways to relay out the event differently. It's all going to depend. We have a really cool idea. And we have to find out if the hotel will let us. So that's why I'm not going to say what it is, because the big question is if the hotel will let us. And then obviously I've expressed my opinions on Guardians of the Galaxy in a rambling, bizarre mess of me half completing sentences at the beginning of the episode. So.
And meanwhile, I have not and never been on the No Brand Con staff.
Gen is a previous member of the No Brand Con staff, but again, yeah, in the future, whenever we do any reporting on No Brand Con, it's going to have to come from one of these two bozos and not this bozo. Because this bozo is now a member, a low-level, unimportant member, but a member of the team. So, yeah, it's that moves us on to the Hall of Awesome, doesn't it? In the Vomit Hat Steve Challenge.
Indeed.
Anyway, so the Vomit Hat Steve Challenge is the part of the episode where we sit down and we look or I read a portion of a book, and the challenge to you, the listener, is to guess what book I'm reading from. If you guess the book correctly, you get included in our Hall of Awesome. The benefits of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. 1, we read your name aloud every episode. 2, we put your name on the website. And 3, nothing else, because, frankly, that's a lot of stuff for a game with 0 budget.
Yes.
The current members of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. Archimate, Zero, Rena Incenti, Cheesy McDammy, Trista, Slithery, The Shameless Otaku, Random Ramblings Man, Decor Fan, Capito, Chris Graham, Lily Soros, Paper Godzilla, Cavsy, Minnesota Librarian, Sean Orange, and Keith Shizuo. That is the complete list. And because Keith did guess a book, and then we didn't bring a new book to No Brand Con because I didn't want to pick up a physical book in front of a room full of people and therefore make it really obvious what the answer was to a room full of people. We are starting the new book this episode, and I shall now, slightly below camera here, read you a line from the book. My son is a literalist. If you know what book that's from, go to nerdandtie.com, click on the contact form, and tell us. Also, go there and tell us your dreams, tell us your hopes, tell us why you think Nick looks kicking in those jeans. Tell us why, again, is your personal headcanon to play Batman. Just anything that would really work out in your favor, not our favor, anyone's favor. Just questions, concerns, thoughts. We want to know them. We want to read them out loud, and we want to make Nick say weird things in your letters on the show because he's the most entertaining one of us to be baffled by your words.
It's true. I accept that.
And so with that, it seems time to wrap up the show. Remember, you can subscribe to Nerd and Tie on iTunes, Google Play Store, Stitcher, or any other fine place that podcasts are distributed to your fine ears. Or you can subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can watch the video versions of this podcast at youtube.com/Traegorn, and you'll find most Nerd and Tie content. You can also subscribe to YouTube at youtube.com/Nick IZUMI to get Nick IZUMI's videos, which we're trying to feature more prominently on nerdandtie.com. So subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. You can also support us besides sponsoring episodes. You can support both Nick and myself on Patreon. Nick's Patreon is patreon.com/Nick IZUMI. My Patreon is patreon.com/Traegorn. And if you want to give Gen money, Gen sells stuff on Etsy. Gen and I believe Society 6.
Yep. And I'm gonna get myself
URLs?
So to find me and all of my stuff, just Google Ocelot Dude. Easy peasy.
Okay. And so
they're all me.
And maybe with your support, Gen can buy a better internet connection. It doesn't turn her into a Cylon at any given moment. But all of these things
usually at the end of the episodes.
Yeah. And so it is with fondue that we then begin to drift off into the ether and the nighttime of your listening ears, or daytime, depending on when you listen to this. As the sun is set, the day is young, the day is old, the day must be put to rest. I am and will always be Trae Dorn.
I might be, and formerly was, and in the future will be, Nick IZUMI.
I'm really digging this Majora's Mask hat, and I kind of want to get it. It's Gen PROCK.
And we are and have been Nerd and Tie, I guess. Say your catchphrase, Nick, and get me out of this.
Keep on spocking in the free world!
Dance party. Sound the alarm.
I think stay with the gnome.
It's not sell me a lawn.
Respect the